this section, I want to talk about valuations of property. So this is when you're purchasing a property. And what I'm saying is you want to get it right first time. You want to be getting the right property that lenders are going to approve. And the reason I'm highlighting that this month is that I had a meeting with one of the senior lending managers at what is probably the largest buy-to-let lender in the UK, which is Nationwide and the Mortgage Works. And the guy was saying to me that 20% of purchase applications get declined based on valuation reports. In other words, the property is not suitable for lending. So if I can share that knowledge, that feedback with you, then that's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, it's going to save you energy, it's going to save you frustration, and you get to that correct property straight away that the lender's going to say yes to. So I pulled that information together into my 5-point checklist. So what you should be doing is getting a pen and paper, making some notes now so that you can have this checklist for when you're shortlisting properties, you know now what the underwriters are thinking so that you can chuck that property in the bin and not waste time on it. So let's get on with these 5 points. The first one is poor condition. So when a surveyor goes to a property, one of the questions they're asking themselves is this property in a lettable state? And it's a really difficult question for me to succinctly answer. There's no standard definition of what a lettable state is. But if you walk into that property and the condition of it is such that it looks really, really outdated, that we need the carpets updating, we need full decoration of the property, and the fixtures and fittings are really basic, really old, just about functional. And it might be in your head as a landlord, you say, yeah, but there will be some people that will probably rent it. Now, that suggests that these are more desperate people, people that are, I suspect, on social housing, maybe the vulnerable people, I don't know, but people who don't have a lot of choice in life and will take what they can get. Well, that's not the type of property that a lender wants, and the surveyor knows that, and that therefore they may well take that view that it's not in a lettable state and decline it. Here's some indicators. If you're looking at a potential property to buy and there's over £5,000 worth of work to do, look, this isn't a definitive figure, by the way. This is just for you as a bit of a ballpark. But if when you do the maths, there's more than £5,000 worth of work, then I would be quite concerned about whether that would get through the surveyors and be seen as lettable, because the lender wants that property to be let pretty much on day one. Yes, they will allow for a little bit of cosmetic work, but pretty much they want that property good to go. They want you advertising it. They want the income stream coming in, the rental, because that's actually servicing the mortgage debt. So if there's more than £5,000 worth of work, be concerned. If the work that's required is spread across multiple trades, is another indicator. So I'm still on poor condition here. But again, if there's multiple trades required that you've got to bring them in to get the works done, then again, that's an indicator that lender may well decline the case. So that's poor condition. Proximity to commercial. Sadly, I see so often that lenders will decline a property because there are certain types of commercial premises, not necessarily next door to the subject property, but on the street. I've seen examples such as haulage or that type of industry where you've got large wagons, HGVs, up and down the street. So it can be really off-putting for a potential tenant. So therefore, you've got noise, you've got the heavy traffic. You've also got commercial that might have noises and smells. So you might have laundrettes, you might have pubs, you might have takeaways, anything that's open on an evening that's going to attract sort of people onto your street. Again, lenders and their surveyors will take quite a dim view of that. And of course, we've got the technology now to get on Street View. We can walk up and down the street virtually and check that out. There's no excuse for saying, well, I didn't realize there was this type of commercial a few doors away. So as part of your due diligence, your shortlisting, get on Street View and have a little wander around if you don't know that, but be really looking for if there is any commercial type properties on your street and adjacent or reasonably close. If in doubt, then as brokers, we sometimes can take a view on it because we're not surveyors, but we've got experience in that area. And we've also got a number of lenders. Now, this is a real great service that some brokers understand that these lenders offer this, where they've got an in-house survey team. So we're not spending time and money on a full application. We're not paying for a survey fee, but we can give, let's say, a link to Rightmove to the in-house survey team, and they'll give us a bit of a heads up. Now, that could be really, really valuable. So there are some lenders that offer that service. Now, on to my third point, and this is a really unusual one, that there's 50% owner-occupiers in the area. Now, what on earth are lenders going on about here? So I've got to be careful. This could be a sensitive topic here, because what lenders are trying to say is, if you've got an area where 100% or getting on that high percentage of the area is as dominated by tenants, then that may well be a deprived area. It may be a poor area, and therefore it may then draw in the wrong crowd. It might be that there's also, it's going to drive away potential tenants. So lenders are looking for a good mix of owner occupiers in the area. And I'm saying area, not the streets as well. There's exceptions to this, by the way. There are lenders that say that we don't have such a rule, but there's a general rule that's in place. So how, as a landlord, do you do your due diligence and pull that statistic together? So there is a website called Street Check. So I'm just double checking that I've got that right myself. Yep, www.streetcheck.co.uk. If you put that in the address bar, go onto that, there'll be a little field saying put the postcode in of the street that you're interested in. So you put that in to start with, click on search. Then you get a series of tabs appearing. And one of those tabs is called housing. Click on the housing tab and then just scroll down a little bit and you will see a pie chart and some data on an analysis of the type of occupants in the vicinity of the postcode. This is exactly the data that you're wanting. Now, within that piece of data, it will say how many properties are owned outright, how many properties are owned with a mortgage, and if applicable, how many are shared ownership. So those first three you add together to give the number of owner occupiers in the area. And then if you scroll a little bit further down, you'll see the total units in that area. And literally, you just do the maths. So how many owner occupiers and shared ownership as a percentage of the total. And if that's around at least 50%, then you know you can tick that box on your checklist and you can move on. If it's less than that, doesn't mean you throw it in the bin. If it ticks every other box, then it might be something to consider. But you've got some alarm bells. So you should then be raising that with your broker to say, could this be an issue? And again, a really good buy-to-let broker can do some research with potential lenders that may not have that rule in place so that we don't have any issues further down the line. So it's a real rule that a lot of lenders will have in place, but that's how we get some transparency on that, get the data so we can make some decisions on it. Shared accommodation. Now, I'm not talking about HMOs here. I'm talking about possibly student lets where you've got sharing a house and it's on one tenancy agreement. So that's a scenario we see a lot. Usually students, not necessarily, but tends to be the typical use of that type of property. But it's not a HMO. So when you've got these a four-bedroom property, you've got lenders will lend against that. But here's the thing that you want to make note of. If this is a property that you are looking to buy, lenders will not like the fact that there will be locks on the bedroom door. So if you're looking to buy a property that's 4 bedrooms, in a sort of a student area, you are looking to let it out on one tenancy, but to four, maybe, pick students that know each other, then make sure that there's no locks on the bedroom door. The other thing that you're looking out for is that there's some communal areas. Now, that could be a living room or it could be a dining area, but a lender will want to see that there is some communal living space over and above the bedrooms. Quite often we've seen that landlords want to maximize the rental. Of course they do. So they've converted that living area into bedroom number 5, for example, so that you get another 20%, 25% rental income coming in. But that can cause an issue with many, many lenders that want to see that we're not trying to just squeeze too many tenants in, and that there is that nice balance with some communal areas. So again, when you're doing your going through your checklist, make sure that's on there if you're looking at that type of property. And the last thing is, don't be just thinking that a surveyor is going out to put a market value figure on the property value. He or she is also assessing what the rental value is. So whatever you think with your rose-tinted glasses on, then be mindful that the surveyor's going out there and it's their valuation. Usually, there's exceptions to this, but usually it's whatever the surveyor thinks is the typical market rent for that property. So again, from your point of view, not only you want to be checking, of course, that you're getting the right return on your investment, but the rental figure, is it strong enough to get the borrowing that you need? And again, what rental figure are you using? So please, please, please don't be putting in the maximum rental figure that you hope to obtain when you get this property. You want this midway rental valuation, because that's likely where the surveyor is going to be putting on the report and what the lenders are going to be used to determine how much you can borrow. So how do you determine that? Well, when you're doing your research and you're going onto Zoopla, Rightmove, or maybe you're speaking to local letting agents, then you want to be looking at comparables, because that's, again, what the surveyors are looking at. So if you think about a map of the local area with your property right in the middle, and you're drawing a concentric circle around that, then you start off by looking at the adjacent streets that your property's in, and seeing if there's properties that have been rented recently. Now, notice I've said being rented, not for rent, because if they're on Rightmove saying, here's a property for rent at £900 a month, but actually it's not yet been rented, then the surveyor will ignore that comparable. It has to have been already let. And here's the thing, write this down, it's within the last 6 months. So don't look back any further, because surveyors won't be doing that. So we want to be comparing like for like. We want to be comparing in the way that the surveyor's going to be comparing. And so, well, how do I find that info, Richard? Well, this is where you should probably put a little bit of extra effort in and actually go into the letting agents. If you go in there and say, I'm thinking of buying this property and I need a good letting agent to manage it, and I wanted to chat to you, would you be open to managing this property for me? Clearly, you've got their interest, and they will be very, very keen to share with you other properties that they're managing in that local vicinity and what price and what rental they're getting for it. So that's how you get that piece of data to inform your decision about what the typical rent is. Great. Then if you can push that up a little bit more, maximize it, then that's great. But for your due diligence, then you're going on this midline, this average rental figure, and that's how you collect that information. So pull that together into that 5-point checklist. It will serve you well. But even if there are boxes that you're not ticking, talk to your broker, because there's always exceptions to rules. And that is the takeaway message. If it ticks every other box, maybe you're also getting it at a great discount. So you're prepared to or want to turn a blind eye to one of these 5 points. But I've said that really, that might mean a decline. Talk to your broker, because we might be able to sidestep it. We might be able to find lenders that actually are more lenient and more flexible about that particular area. So again, if you are interested in anything we've just said there, if you've got properties that you are already shortlisting and are thinking, well, should I just submit the application and let's find out? Send us that information ahead. Click the link on the comment below, book some time with the team, and send us that information, and we'll really get under the surface and understand that property in detail, so that we can give you some real good quality feedback as to whether that is likely to be a property that's accepted by the lender. I hope that's been of use to you today. As I said, there's comments below if you want to chat in more detail with the team.